Hey, this is Peter again with the 2001 2500 Dodge Cummins, and I will show you today some steps how I installed the fuel pressure gauge, which is so important for these trucks in the generation between 1998 and half and 2002. All these trucks needs to have a fuel pressure gauge to monitor fuel pressure, because if the fuel pressure goes too low it will damage the injection pump, which is of course very expensive. So first I went online and I was shopping for the gauges, and I selected a gauge from the GlowShift. I bought a gauge and I bought also the housing, which I thought I will need it. Then I came in the truck and was looking for where to put it. So I tried here, but that was in the way. I tried on the dashboard, and it was everywhere in the way. And then I finally find out that I don't have to see the gauge all the time. And I found that this spot will be pretty cool. So it's the upper power outlet, and I use the drill with the small drill bit. I draw the shape of the gauge in the plastic, made a lot of small holes, then broke the plastic out, used the file, fixed the shape of the gauge that it fits nice and snugly. And so far I love this spot. I highly can recommend it. It's perfect, works perfectly. You don't have to see the gauge right in front of you all the time. It's just informative, it's not changing, it just shows you that you have enough fuel pressure. If you have, of course. Now that gauge comes with the wiring harness, which is approximately 2 feet long. So the wires went easily in the dash, and they were continuing under the dash approximately up to here. That's all. Where is the hood? That's all where it goes. From there you are on your own with your own wires. So you can see a little bit the wiring down there. Now the gauge has a bunch of wires. There is the orange one, which is for the dimming function. Then there is a yellow one, which is for constant 12 volts, then it's a red, which is for the ignition switch 12 volts, then it's black for the vehicle ground, and the green communicates with the sensor. This is electrical, so it has sensor on the fuel rail down in the engine. Now, using voltmeter, I was looking for a good ground, and as you can see, there is nice steel, and I selected that first bolt, which is right here, and I routed the black wire right there. It gives me perfect ground, reliable ground, so that was easy. Then I needed a source of the voltage, and I went to the fuse box, which is right here, and again using voltmeter I selected fuse, which has all the time 12 volts, and then the one which is ignition. I bought from the Napa such a little piece of steel which fits snugly on one of the contacts of these mini fuses, and it gives you the terminal for your wire. This is the extension of the yellow wire from the gauge. It's brown here, but it's the yellow one, which has all the time 12 volts. You can see the location. And this one, it's on 20 amp fuse. This is red, which is also red from the gauge, and this is the ignition switch 12 volts. So that was connected under the hood here together, and we are having ground, and we are having both sources of the electricity, so that's good. Now we have to install under the hood fuel sensor and connected it with the gauge. So let's look under the hood really quickly. I used the location which was recommended by the Geno's garage, and the location, you can see that shiny sensor down there. It's underneath the fuel filter. This is the fuel filter, and underneath where it leaves fuel filter is the line which goes towards to the injection pump, which is right here. So that's a good location. I used that, and I purchased from the Geno's garage the snubber, which is that top shiny piece, and the bottom is the sensor from the GlowShift. I put them together, removed the banjo bolt which was underneath the fuel filter. It wasn't really tight. Caught the fuel, it wasn't really much dripping out, so that was good, and quickly installed back this snubber with the sensor. Then I needed to do the wiring, right? So it has two wires. Let me show you from there. This is the sensor, and it has two wires. It has a ground, which is the black. It's a black, and I found, this is the view from distance, and I found good ground right here. So this is on the firewall, and this is the ground for the sensor. And then you can see there is the blue wire leaving, and that's the wire which is originally green. I didn't have a green, so I used blue one, and it needs to go in the cabin. So there was question how to go through the firewall, and I found out there is that cable which opens the hood. The hood opening cable goes by itself through the firewall. I don't know if you can see it, not really, but it will be easy for you to find out where it is. So it was very easy to take this wire which I have, which needs to go to the gauge, and stick it through the firewall right next to this hood opening cable. These wires which I'm using are gauge 20. This is such a, I will say, universal or perfect size for the for this kind of job. Then I introduce air in the system, right? I lost some fuel, so if you go and very briefly crank the starter, it makes your fuel pump run for approximately 20 minutes. So this is the last port before the injection pump, so I unscrew this plastic cap which is covering it, and there is a nice valve which you can with a small screwdriver push in, and when the pump runs it pushes the air out with some fuel also, so just don't forget to catch the fuel. And that's basically it. There was not air introduced in the injection pump or in the injectors, so I didn't have to crack open injectors later and deal with the air and all these problems. So that was very easy, and I was happy that I used that mount which is underneath the fuel filter and not here, what was my first idea, but that's way better, as the Geno's garage recommended. So let's go back in the truck. Under the dashboard I connected the blue wire with the green one, which is for the gauge, and that was basically it. I was ready. I didn't use that orange cable which I mentioned in beginning. That will be dimming when you put the headlights on. The gauge will go, the light of the gauge will go half, but I don't like that. I want to have it glowing all the time perfectly, very light. This is from the GlowShift 52mm black on black. Then it perfectly fits to the interior, as you can see, and I was a little bit afraid it will be too dark, but I will show you right now that it looks awesome and it's perfectly bright. Right now it's still daylight. So this is what happens when you put it on. Let's switch off all the air here. It's very, very nice and bright, and let's start it up. And as you can see, I found out immediately that my fuel pressure is low, so I have to, as fast as possible, go and install a fuel lift pump before I will damage the injection pump. So I will make some more videos about installing that fuel pump later. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. Aloha!